flying over Santa Rosa, California. It's a beautiful day. I'm having a great flight. But this is enough fun. Time to get back to the shop and do some work. Hi, welcome back to the shop. I've got here a bunch of cut-off pieces and scraps and leftover things from other jobs that I've done. And I wanted to do some ring bowls. I did those small bowls before, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description of this one. And I wanted to do these differently this time. Last time I actually took a board, cut circles out of the board, small circles, big circles, and then glued them together that way in layers. It was a lot less turning work, but it was a lot more work with the gluing and the putting it all together. So this time I thought I would try something else. Since I have all of these scrap pieces to work with, I thought this would be a good thing to do. And I'm going to make these out of strips of this wood glued together, and then turn it that way. It'd be a lot more waste, but it'll be easier to do this. I'll show you as I go along what I'm talking about. It's easier to see it than it is to describe. There's a lot of prep work here. The wood needs to be run through the thickness planer to make the edges smooth. So that'll be the first step, is put all this stuff through the thickness planer, and then table saw, and then start putting it together as a puzzle. So that's what you'll see me do. So wish me luck, and we'll get going. I'm cutting the pieces to width on the table saw and now to length on my chop saw. The trick to doing these bowls that I've cut, all these blanks, is that you set them up symmetrically. So these small bowls will take 7 blanks of this size, and the big bowls will take 11. So I'll show you what we're going to do. I wanted to set these up, both the small one and the large ones, with Purple Heart as the center accent strip. So I will have these set up here. Now to be symmetrical, I have to add things on both sides at the same time. So I have this, looks like maple. So I will take 2 pieces of this and put here, and 2 pieces here, and 2 pieces here. Now I want to have light wood next to the dark wood, or the purple wood. So let's work on some more of that. So here I've got some, this looks like oak. Doesn't smell like oak, but so 2 pieces here, 2 pieces here, and 2 pieces here. Now the next one I want to do is on each of these is a dark piece. So I cut some mahogany here, and I've got enough pieces for each of these. Now the next will be another strip of light. Here's some lighter wood. Some of it's more light than others, but I just keep it going symmetrical. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is a bowl, and they are going to be roughly square when they're made. So these look very good. I don't have enough clamps to glue each bowl up separately. So I took my longest set of Bessey clamps, and I'm going to do them all as an assembly, put them all together, and then squeeze the clamps together when they're all together like that. You notice I have lined my table saw with wax paper. That's one of the best tools in a shop. It'll take all of the squeeze out that drops down, and I won't have to clean up my table saw bench at that time. So each of these is a separate glue up, so I don't glue them all together into one, but there they all are together. And now I'm cutting the blanks on the diagonal. I've set the saw so that they're exactly on the diagonal, and of course I wait till the saw blade stops before I move anything. Now here's the magic. To make it a chevron, all I do is take one side, rotate it 180 degrees, and there's the chevron pattern. I'm going to do that with every one of them. These 6 turned out perfectly. When gluing up diagonal pieces such as these, it is difficult to keep them from sliding against each other during the clamping process. There are many ways to solve this problem. I decided to use band clamps. I went to Harbor Freight and bought several of their mid-quality band clamps. They work surprisingly well. Harbor Freight is not a sponsor. I just say this because they worked well. I generally do not have much luck mounting blanks using a woodworm screw. These blanks are especially problematic because the woodworm screw hole could fall on or near a glue line, forcing the joint to fail. So I used the tried and true faceplate method. Since I was doing many bowls in this project, I laid out for the faceplates all at once. The bigger bowls took my larger faceplate. I learned this trick for laying out tenons from Phil Anderson. I miss him. Rest in peace, friend.
I should have squared off this face before I laid out for the tenon, but there was enough of the line left that I could still see it when it was moving. But I'll remember to do it the other way next time. I'm creating a recessed shelf for the chuck jaws to rest on. This way I'm not sacrificing the outside depth of the final bowl to make a tenon. I'm roughing it out with my bowl gouges. And now I'm chewing it up with my carbide tools. The inside of my chuck jaws are straight-sided, so I don't need to worry about a dovetail here. Just need to make everything nice and true. Now I'm truing up what will become the foot of the bowl. I shaped the outside of the bowl to my liking, and then I shear scraped it to cut down on the sanding. But I did go through the grits as well to make it as smooth as possible. Now these shots are a montage from all the different bowls that I made, showing how I changed the shape of the bowl to fit my mood of the day. I'm also lazy, so I removed much of the bulk of the inside with drill bits first. I made a relief hole with a twist drill bit, and then widened the hole with progressively larger Forstner bits. I used my homemade depth gauge to keep from making a funnel. On this bowl, I experimented with tried and true Danish oil. It made the bowl nice and shiny, but I wasn't happy with how much it darkened the lighter woods. I finally settled on polyurethane for the rest of the bowls. I'm not totally disciplined enough to just put on a thin coat. So to ensure I don't get runs, I turn the lathe on at its lowest speed until the finish dries. I've now rebushed the bowl on a jam chuck. Jam chucks are just pieces of wood that your project is jammed up against, with the tailstock providing the pressure. To keep the jam chuck from damaging the project, I use a piece of shelf liner between the chuck and the project. You may see a part of that cushion flapping around as the bowl turns. I have to be careful with this setup. The bowl can fly off the lathe if I'm too aggressive in my cuts. I only use light cuts and mostly pushing towards the bowl rather than towards the center. I take my time. Towards the end, I switched to a spindle detail gouge for the final process. I've seen some people keep the lathe running at a slow speed and with their free hand stop it as soon as the gouge breaks through the stub. I've not had much success with that procedure, so I just turn the lathe off and rotate it by hand until the gouge severs the stub. Then a final sanding, lasering my logo into the base, and a final finish coat. Now for the next bowl. I won't show you each bowl. While there are differences in the shapes I chose, the principles remain the same for all of them.
These are the bowls that I've made. You saw all the blanks and they all looked fairly uniform, but all of the bowls are different. As you come up here, you can see a lot of the differences in how things look. Different styles. I didn't want to try to make just one same style, but I made different styles here. And there's been mistakes that I've made in these bowls that, as you can see in this one, I forgot to scrape it. And by the time I found that out, it was too late. I couldn't scrape it. So just consider it character. All different styles of bowls here. I've changed my logo. This new one was designed by AI, and it's not totally good on this dark wood, but the rest of the wood, it does a very nice job. So I made the logo, I've made these bowls, I've made the logos on them, and they are now ready for distribution.